Žarko Knego, car number 74, Croatian driver. He had a really big crash here in Slovakia last year that ended his season sooner than he would have hoped for. And that was also his last race with the previous generation Cupra Leon. For this season, he got hold of the new one, and he's been showing great pace. However, the results have not really been coming through lots of bad luck and even a couple of mistakes. The last problem came in yesterday's race where Žarko Knego was fighting even for the podium finish. However, then a technical glitch and a gearbox problem stepped in, and that dropped Žarko all the way to the back of the top 10. So he finished 9th on the road. Luckily for him, there is the draw for race number 2, because if you have been following the TCR, then you know that the starting grid for race number 2 is actually decided by the results of race number 1, with a certain number of positions reversed, and that number of positions gets decided by a draw. The winner of race 1 picks out a number out of the hat, and then that's your number of positions which get reversed. Yesterday's race was won by the local hero Matjo Homola, and maybe to compensate for his good fortunes in the race, he then got to pick the number, and yeah, the one that he chose accidentally was number 10, which is the maximum number of positions that we can be reversing, and therefore it means that the Slovakian driver is falling all the way down to 10th. However, it is a savior situation for Žarko Knego, because he is now going to start from the front row. There is Adam Řepecký, who is joining the TCR grid. He has been racing in the GT races earlier on with the Porsche 911, but he bought the previous generation Audi RS3 from Aditis Racing Team, who now has the newer generation of the Audi for Radim Adamek, and therefore the older model found its way to new hands, and Adam Řepecký has been racing it since yesterday's race. It is Robert Pravdic on pole position. Robert Pravdic rejoined the grid during last weekend in Croatia at Grobnik, and for this round he is the only car entered by the team of Milovan Vesnic, the 2019 Eastern European champion, and this is Aditis Racing's let's say third edition. Víc Smejkal, who's also coming back to the grid, he took part in the second round of the championship in Austria at the Red Bull Ring, and now he's back for the Slovakian part of the calendar. And we also saw the championship leader Bartosz Groszek in his black and, let's say, cyan or blue and green Audi RS3. Levente Losonci, he took part in the opening 2 rounds of the season with the Alfa Romeo Giulietta, but now he's back, having missed the last 2 rounds, and now he's back with a brand new machine as well, as he got hold of the Hyundai Elantra. And you may have also spotted, yeah, an eagle eye would have spotted a familiar face from the TCR world standing next to his car, Pepe Oriola, who is supporting the aggressive racing team and is supervising the fortunes and the efforts of Levente Losonci here in Slovakia. Yesterday's race was, well, we can even say dominated by Matjo Homola, local driver, local star. We are here part of Grand Prix of Slovakia. Quite a lot of fans in the grandstands. The main grandstand is very nicely full. And even despite the weather, where the rain always remains a very near threat, it's been a nice weekend so far, and really a lot of fans found their way to the circuit and to the grandstands, and they welcomed their home hero Matjo Homola first on pole position in qualifying, and then to the race victory in race number 1. Interestingly enough, actually, we did a little bit of digging because Mathieu Homola also took part in the opening round of the championship in Hungary as part of his preparation for the upcoming European TCR season with the brand new Hyundai Elantra, because Yannick Motorsport is entering 2 Elantras in the European TCR, and so the team took the opening round in Hungary as a preparation round before they got going in the European Championship. And based on the good results and good efforts from Hungary, had Mathieu Homola been racing in Austria, he would have been hit with a 40 kilogram ballast, the BOP. But of course he then did not, he then discontinued his season, and he's only back now for the Slovakian round as another preparation for the upcoming European weekend, or European TCR weekend in Germany at the Nürburgring. But for this round, the 40 kilograms of BOP sort of went missing. So his Elantra not really loaded with extra ballast, and that also helped his performance in yesterday's race. But that is definitely not to diminish the skills of Mathieu Homola, who has been a proven star and proven racer in the TCR world. Today, well, he's got everything to show because it's going to be an uphill struggle for him. As already mentioned, he might be good at driving, but so far he's not been really very good at picking numbers out of a hat. So number 10 it is, and that means that he will be starting from row number 5, and at least he's got a lot to show to the local fans. Lots of overtaken. Slovakia ring definitely shows interesting opportunities. It's a 5.9 kilometer racetrack with plenty of corners, lots of them fast and sweeping, and a couple of places that are basically great opportunities for overtaking. A very small reminder, we are coming to the Slovakian weekend on the back of tragic events from the last time out in Croatia, where a crash in an endurance race resulted in a fatal accident of a track marshal, and after that the Asset Cup Series promoters and organizers have decided to open a transparent account and to create a little fund to help the affected family. So this way we can also ask you, and if you are willing in such a hard time to make at least a small contribution, then we'd like to show you the bank account number, and we'd be really glad if you and very thankful, very grateful if you were willing to help in. But now we are back on track and in racing action. Mathieu Homola started from pole, won from pole yesterday, but he's got to do all of that now today from 10th on the grid. Robert Pravdic on pole position in the Audi RS3. Alongside him on the front row, Žarko Knego, with one of the best chances that he's had this season to finally take that podium spot or even try and win a race. Behind them on row number 2, that's 3rd placed Adam Řepecký and 4th placed Václav Janík. In 5th, Levente Lošonci, who did really well at the wheel of the Elantra in qualifying. He took 3rd on the grid, but then unfortunately he dropped down the order. Right now he's 5th on the grid. 6th place, Sebastian Steibl, and then the championship leader Bartosz Groszek in 7th. Alongside him Petr Čížek, who scored a 3rd podium of his season in yesterday's race with 3rd place. and he will be starting today's race from 8th on the grid. And on row number 5, Petr Semerád, the championship runner-up currently. 5 points behind Bartosz Groszek with 3 races to go. And Maťo Homola alongside him on row number 5 in 10th place. Víc Mejkal in 11th, Tomáš Řepecký in 12th with his VW Golf, and I believe we are missing Radim Adamek. He had trouble in yesterday's race as well, since he got hold of the brand new Audi fresh from the factory. There has been quite a large number of technical problems with the car already. There was a compressor issue earlier on this weekend, and then differential problems, and still the car does not seem to be quite okay. And I noticed Radim Adamek walking along the starting grid just in a team's t-shirt, not really in racing gear, which suggested that the car is not ready to race today, and that means that the technical trouble still keep prevailing. He was actually running really well in yesterday's race and he was showing good pace. However, then the technical problems hit Radim once again, and he is not in the car today. So only 12 cars on the grid for today's race, and we are already on the formation lap. You saw the map of the track. This is the couple of Janík Motorsport fielded Elantras. Petr Semerád, he had been driving the previous model, the i30, all the way through the season. And just very quickly to remind you, we mentioned the bank account for Josip Mušanović, the track marshal who lost his life in Croatia. So this is the account where you can contribute, if you will. And Petr Semerád, he drove the i30 in the first 4 rounds of the championship, but then the opportunity arose to actually switch to the Elantra for this weekend, because also Joachim Galaš, the teammate of Maťo Homola, is here this weekend, and he also took this weekend as a sort of preparation. So we did have a go a couple of times before the weekend in the free sessions, or the open sessions, let's say, as he's also getting ready for the Nürburgring round of the European TCR. But then his car is in the hands of Petr Semerád for this weekend. And we also momentarily saw Václav Janík in the Soul i30 for this weekend. So this is the fast back straight, basically, running towards the final corner of the track. The long, pretty much never-ending right-hander, this one. It's a pretty tricky one, because many drivers are really are even choosing a double apex approach. However, it tends to be quite dirty on the outside, so it is a little bit risky. And we have seen drivers in the gravel trap on a couple of occasions this weekend already. So the drivers are now getting back to the starting grid. Robert Pravdic on pole position for the Sunday's race. Alongside him, Žarko Knego, definitely hungry for the first Eastern European TCR victory. Second row, Adam Řepecký, the new addition to the entry list in his Audi RS3, which he actually only took over this weekend from Aditis Racing. Alongside him, Václav Janík, and then the championship contenders, Bartosz Groszek in 7th, Petr Semerád in 9th. And the red lights are on, and we are racing in Slovakia. Robert Pravdic from pole seems to have made a slow getaway, but beautiful start from Adam Rzepecki, who immediately shoots into the lead. Adam Rzepecki will lead the race into the first corner. Bartosz Groszek fighting hard, presumably with Petr Semerád. Into the opening corner, Žarko Knego trying to go down the inside, but Václav Janík made a good getaway and he moves himself up into second. He's now having to defend from Žarko Knego. Adam Rzepecki, rocket start from the Polish driver, and he immediately has pulled a little bit of a gap over everybody else. Žarko Knego down the inside on Václav Janík into the second corner, and they are immediately followed by Maťo Homola, who is already up to fourth, and then Bartosz Groszek around the outside in fifth currently. And we are now going hard on the brakes. Václav Janík in second. Maťo Homola has already dealt with Žarko Knego, so he's up into third. Extremely good start by the local driver. This is Víc Mejkal at the back of the grid. Václav Janík now defending from his teammate Maťo Homola. I believe that they will not be racing too hard together. Sebastian Steibl now in front of Bartosz Groszek and also Žarko Knego. Ooh, and a mistake from Sebastian Steibl, who's now leaving the track. A little off-track excursion. He's back on the black stuff now, but he's lost a couple of places. There's also Petr Čížek trying to find his way down the inside on Levente Lošonce in the third Elantra. Tomáš Rzepecki in the VW Golf also moving up the order. So there's more dust being kicked up in the air. It is incredible how much the order is mixed up compared to the order on the starting grid. So a lot has already happened in this race, and three wide they are going now. Petr Čížek in the middle of a fierce fight with Levente Lošonce and also Tomáš Rzepecki. And there's also Sebastian Steibl, who has been dropping down after his mistake in the infield section. Petr Čížek has to do it all the way around the outside. Ooh, and Tomáš Rzepecki now diving down the inside on him. They are running side by side, and Petr Čížek losing a place. Žarko Knego under attack from Petr Semerád. Petr Semerád carrying extra 30 kilograms after Grobnik. So also his car with a little bit of ballast, well, quite a lot of ballast actually. And Adam Rzepecki is trying to disappear into the distance, but he has got two Janík Motorsport cars hot on his heels. And it is the i30 in front of the Elantra. Maťo Homola, the local star, now fighting for second with his team mate and boss actually. Through the quick right-hander, that is turn number 2. And Maťo Homola lining up for a move. He knows that he's got plenty of time still left in this race, and he's already up to third. So he knows that there is no need to be overly aggressive. But Adam Rzepecki running really nicely with the Audi. Look how hard he's cornering the inside rear wheel all the way up in the air, like for all the cars. And he's really trying to go a little over the curbs and onto the grass to kick up some dust and really throw something in the face of his chasing rivals. Václav Janík fighting for the top spot as well. He is also yet to win a race in the TCR. He's been on the podium a couple of times. Václav Janík, he is actually currently 5th in the standings with 70 points to his name. He has been third 3 times, but that's his best result to date. But he has got a race victory on his hands. Definitely a chance here. It's not going to be easy, but it's not completely unrealistic. Maťo Homola so far just shadowing Václav Janík from third as they are both chasing the Audi. And you could have noticed also really how high up in the air the inside rear wheel goes each time, and as the cars are still braking, it actually gets stopped, because you noticed the two yellow highlighted pieces of the rim that were blocked through the last corner. And this is the championship fight. Bartosz Groszek, and he now has his main rival right on his rear wing. Petr Semerád has caught up with Bartosz Groszek and he's flashing his headlights, trying to use every trick in the book to unnerve Bartosz Groszek. Ooh, a little slide, exiting the second corner. Oh, that's not something you really want to have in a car on this track, because it's an extremely fast corner, and if you lose control of your car there, then you are in for a nasty crash. Žarko Knego would be really able to tell you all about it. And Adam Řepecký, he has already lost the lead to Václav Janík. So Václav Janík up into first. Maťo Homola still watching everything from third. And he's now trying to go down the inside on Řepecký, but again, not being too aggressive. Bartosz Groszek still defending from Petr Semerád. 5 points splitting the two drivers in the standings with 3 races to go. Ooh, and a wide drive through that tight left-hander from Václav Janík. He lost a little bit of momentum, but still holds on to the race lead. And now Maťo Homola lining up for a move on Adam Řepecký. Řepecký trying to go defensive. He's been driving the Porsche 911 in the GTC class up until now, so he's definitely used to great speeds. Let's see again the so far decisive move for the race result. Textbook stuff from Václav Janík. And Petr Semerád again right on the tail of Bartosz Groszek along the pit straight. Bartosz Groszek, I guess, a little happy that Semerád has now switched to the Elantra, as it does not seem to be that fast on the straights. The i30 definitely showing greater top speed so far. But now they are side by side exiting the first corner. There has been touch. A little plumes of smoke coming from both of the car's tyres. And they are now running side by side next to each other through the second corner. This is really getting hot. And Petr Semerád down the inside on Bartosz Groszek into the third corner, but a switchback from the Polish driver, and he's back into fourth. Beautiful stuff from the two championship contenders. They are still running side by side into the infield section. Extremely incredible stuff from the two drivers. Petr Semerád currently on the inside, and there is fight with Homola trying to attack Řepecký. But what is happening now with the championship contenders? Petr Semerád is through, and he is now pushing Bartosz Groszek down to 5th place. Bartosz Groszek carrying 10 kilograms more than Petr Semerád as the BOP for the success for the last time out at Grobnik, where Bartosz Groszek was on pole, then accidentally stalled on the grid and fell all the way down the order to the last position before he climbed back into second in the race. But here he is hit with the BOP penalty, so 40 kilograms right next to him, where the passenger seat should normally be. Petr Semerád also carrying ballast, but only 30 kilos, which is making the difference. And the rest is in the hands of both drivers. But Petr Semerád has now bettered Bartosz Groszek and is running in fourth. They are now both having Adam Řepecký right in front of them, as the remaining two Janík Motorsport cars are now running 1-2. Yesterday it was the 1-2 finish for the Czech squad. Václav Janík still in the lead from Maťo Homola. And now Petr Semerád attacking Adam Řepecký down the inside into the first corner. Adam Řepecký was not going defensive very hard, and now Semerád is through. Bartosz Groszek now has the Audi that used to belong to his teammate and boss. Oh, a mistake from Řepecký, who's now running across the gravel. He went wide, exiting the second corner, and I wonder if there is any sort of trouble, because the car suddenly snapped, and I wonder, is there a puncture of the front left tire on the car, or was it just a simple driver's mistake. We're gonna have to wait for the replay to see exactly what happened there, and also another footage, current footage, the live footage of Adam Řepecký, if he is now continuing in the race or the problem is still there. Václav Janík again really wide, and this is now letting Maťo Homola through. They are running side by side. Maťo Homola back in the lead. Or let's say in the lead again. So it is now a Janík Motorsport 1, 2, 3 on the track. Maťo Homola leading Václav Janík and Petr Semerád in third. Petr Semerád now getting closer to his teammates. Bartosz Groszek also trying to keep up, but it's definitely not easy with extra 40 kilos sitting next to him. Let's see that again, what happened there. It actually did look like a tiny little twitch through the second corner. It is not flat out in the TCR cars, so if you go maybe a little too aggressive and then you notice that your car is understeering, then maybe Adam Řepecký just tried to correct that, and that's where he lost control of his car. Luckily for him, he still managed to hold it in the correct direction and just skipped across the gravel. Petr Semerád is now through on Václav Janík, so Václav Janík dropping down to third. This is important stuff for Petr Semerád, who really needs every single point in the championship fight with Bartosz Groszek, and Bartosz Groszek is now also catching up with Václav Janík. Maťo Homola in the lead in his Elantra, and Bartosz Groszek trying to stay close. He has got another Hyundai right behind him. There's Levente Lošonci driving for the aggressive team squad. Petr Čížek also catching up in his full-in race Academy Cupra, currently in 6th, following Levente Lošonci. Robert Pravdic, who started from pole, is now down in 10th, behind Adam Řepecký. So Adam Řepecký was leading for a large portion of this race, is now down in 9th, even behind Sebastian Steibl, who was also off the track earlier on in this race. There is Bartosz Groszek being followed by Levente Lošonci, and we have just entered the second half of this race. And entering the second half of the race, it is a Janík Motorsport stronghold with 1, 2, 3. Their cars running in the top 3 positions. Levente Lošonci trying to stay ahead of Petr Čížek. Double apex approach through the last corner as they are now entering the start and finish straight. This seems to be good and shaping up to be a good opportunity for Petr Čížek down the pit straight. Let's see if he manages to launch an attack on Levente Lošonci. There they are behind the Audi, somewhere down the inside. Petr Čížek attacks Levente Lošonci. There they go, and Petr Čížek is through. Beautiful stuff. Petr Čížek did use the slipstream that is really, really strong here in Slovakia along that long pit straight. And Petr Čížek has now dealt with the Hungarian opponent. Through the second turn they go. Now Lošonci lining up for a repass attempt. However, Čížek going defensive, holding on to the inside line, braking beautifully, not really allowing Lošonci into any opportunity. Seems like a little piece of bodywork is hanging off Petr Čížek's car. That's not something that should trouble him too much. Ooh, even a bit of floor is actually flapping around. This Cupra has also had its fair share of teething trouble and so-called child illnesses. Last season there were endless problems with the differential and also with the with a splitter detaching from the car. But by now the team has managed to improve the reliability of the car quite significantly. Bartosz Groszek, 2:15.5 on the previous lap. Václav Janík, 2:16.5, so a full second per lap difference. However, Matej Homola, 2:13.8, Petr Semerád, 2:15.1. So, podium seems realistic for Bartosz Groszek, but the fight with his main championship rival, not so much for the moment. 2:14.1 for Matej Homola, 2:15.1 for Petr Semerád, Václav Janík 2:15.9, Groszek 2:15.7. There is the race leader, looking for a full sweep of the home event, having won the qualifying so far and the first race, also setting the fastest lap in it, and now on his way to another race victory with another fastest lap. He's the only one currently who has managed to lap the track in this race under 2 minutes and 14 seconds. So undisputed P1 for the Slovakian driver. Petr Semerád in second with a bit of a gap already. Nearly 4 seconds splitting the two Janík Motorsport Elantras. Václav Janík currently still holding on to third. We have got just under 8 minutes left in this race. I was just going to say that the situation has calmed down a bit, but that's not the case anymore, because Bartosz Groszek is already right on the rear wing of Václav Janík. And they are now going aggressive over each curb. Hard under braking, look at the rear wheel lock-up. Ooh, and a little bit of a twitch for the Audi. Bartosz Groszek really cornering absolutely flat out as he's trying to squeeze every single bit of performance out of the Ingolstadt machine. Now again hard on the brakes, 2:16.3 for Václav Janík, 2:15.9 for Groszek. Petr Čížek behind them, 2:15.5, so the Czech driver is also closing up on these two. And Bartosz Groszek feels that he needs to clear Václav Janík as soon as he can before Petr Čížek gets himself into the mix. Another rear wheel lock up. This has been happening so often for the Audi. And even the rear tires are actually flat spotted at multiple places. Which is incredible, but actually so typical for such a high-speed track for the front-wheel drive touring car. It's cornering and braking so hard that its tail gets lifted up in the air, and as the rear wheel is in the air and the driver is still on the brakes, the inside rear wheel gets stopped and blocked, and then it's basically being hit against the ground and rubbed against the ground, and the rear tire flat spotted, which is not good really, because then with all the flat spots the rear tires don't really hold very much, and that means that as the race progresses, the rear tires hold and grip less and less, which means the car becomes oversteery more and more and is sliding around which is not helping the performance. But also the front tires losing grip in the process, as they are really having to do all the job there is to do. The cornering, the acceleration, the braking, and again massive rear tire lockup for Bartosz Groszek. As he's now trying to put the traction down, entering the pit straight to line up for a move on Václav Janík. It's definitely not a given that he is going to get ahead of Václav Janík in this race. He does seem to be faster, but is he, let's say, faster enough to actually get in front of the Czech driver? This is the fight for podium, and now Petr Čížek really needs to be counted as a full member of this battle for the podium. Petr Čížek took third yesterday, and he is definitely hungry for more, well, let's say thirsty for more champagne. And around the outside tries to go Bartosz Groszek. Yeah, but in the third corner it's definitely not so easy to do that. He's right on the tail of Václav Janík, but there is simply nowhere to go through. There might even have been slight contact between the two drivers. Bartosz Groszek trying every trick in the book to get in front of Václav Janík. But that car is still holding on to the podium place. And Václav Janík really trying to use every single centimeter of the track, every single piece of every curb, to make his racing line as straight as possible, and at the same time his car as wide as possible. Ooh, and a little mistake from Václav Janík, who's opening up the inside line for Groszek, who's trying to line up for another move. More dust being kicked up in the air. Václav Janík really trying to throw dirt into Bartosz Groszek's face. And now they are running right behind each other, slipstreaming along the back straight into the last corner. Cornering so flat, but now the inside line is opening. Bartosz Groszek attacking down the inside. They will go side by side on the pit straight as they are now entering another lap. Bartosz Groszek is on full attack mode and they are running side by side. There's even touch down the pit straight. Bartosz Groszek will be attacking, but also Petr Čížek lining up for a move. Are they going to go three wide into the first corner? No, they're not, but Bartosz Groszek is through on Václav Janík, and Petr Čížek trying to follow suit. This is dramatic stuff in the fight for the remaining podium place there. Bartosz Groszek now holding on to third. Václav Janík trying to defend the fourth at least from Petr Čížek, but Petr Čížek is also overtaking Václav Janík into the second corner. That was dramatic, and Bartosz Groszek is now third. Petr Čížek is fourth. Václav Janík falling down to fifth in the process. What a battle for third, with less than 2 minutes left in this race. And there is still everything to play for Petr Čížek, because third place is still possible again. So this would be theoretically a double podium weekend for the Full In Race Academy driver, because Bartosz Groszek is not far ahead. And let's not remember, I believe by this stage his rear tires will be nearly shot. So this is still realistic for Petr Čížek. Let's see if we are able to start another lap. I actually quite doubt it, because we have less than 50 seconds on the clock, and we are only about to enter the last sector of the track. Maťo Homola, he is actually quite far ahead, 13 seconds ahead of these guys. So let's see if the local driver is actually able to start another lap. Maťo Homola leading by more than 7 seconds over Petr Semerád. Bartosz Groszek currently in third, 20 seconds left on the clock. There is Petr Semerád, but where is Maťo Homola? This is the car number 68. And there's also the Audi of Adam Řepecký beached and buried in the gravel in the last corner. We will be able to start another lap. So the final lap is there. Maťo Homola is already in it. there is the race leader, dominant in this race again, and completely untroubled by anybody else now. His lead over Petr Semerád has already risen to over 8 seconds. Petr Semerád in second, but Petr Čížek already attacking Bartosz Grošek. This is still going to be an exciting last lap. Petr Čížek lining up for another move as they go over the crest. Bartosz Grošek is trying to glue his Audi to the inside line, but he also has to line up well for the second corner. He really needs to open it up to carry as much speed as he possibly can through this very important right-hander. Petr Čížek makes a mistake. A piece of bodywork flying around, and he drove off the track. So Václav Janík is back through, and the front grille and the front bumper of Petr Čížek's car is now full of grass and full of dirt, and this should already be decisive also for Bartosz Grošek, who should now be able to hang on to that third place. But Petr Čížek made a crucial mistake exiting the second corner as he skipped across the gravel, skipped across the grass, lost the fourth spot to Václav Janík, and I believe that he will now be probably happy to keep the fifth place at least, because there's also Levente Lošonci very close behind. Petr Čížek now trying to re-attack and re-pass Václav Janík. So they are now running side by side through this left-hander. Petr Čížek seems to be through, but it seems like a piece of his bodywork is probably rubbing against one of the tires, so some smoke coming out of the Cupra. And now Levente Lošonci attacking Václav Janík as well. They are now running 3 wide. There's more contact. Who is going to come victorious out of this scrap? More touching among these 3 cars. Václav Janík now up to 4th. Levente Lošonci fighting hard and side by side with Petr Čížek. This is really getting absolutely crazy. And this is another home victory for Maťo Homola. Absolutely dominant performance in front of the home crowd. Yet another victory for the Slovakian. Yet another fastest lap. So absolutely full sweep. Oh, and Václav Janík losing it through the last corner. Petr Čížek is back through up into 4th. Petr Semerád finishing 2nd on the road. Bartosz Grošek comes home 3rd to take at least the podium out of this weekend and salvage something out of the championship fight, but it is going to be extremely close in the championship standings before the last round at Most, and Petr Semerád and Bartosz Grošek are really going to enter the season finale in 2 weeks' time pretty much neck and neck. Maťo Homola victorious on the home soil, and the last laps were really exciting, really crazy and really eventful. We really didn't know where to look first in those closing laps. What a scrap it was actually for 4th between Petr Čížek and Václav Janík, and also Levente Lošonci was trying to be part of that, and he very much was. And there was so much touching, and luckily that did not result into any major drama and any major crash. Everybody in the end managed to stay on the road and bring the cars home.